Hi everyone, thanks so much for following the Meet Me for Coffee podcast on the road. We are back at it again, creating more special edition content here at the Trimble Insight 2025 conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. If you guys like the content that you watch in this episode, be sure to go back and check out the channel to see all of the other amazing on-site interviews that are taking place this week here in New Orleans. And thanks for meeting us for coffee. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us again. We are here at the Trimble Insight Conference and excited to have an opportunity to actually recap what happened this morning. This is the first full day of the conference and we had a really awesome opening session, and sitting with me is a gentleman who got to be a part of kicking off that opening session. And so we're going to work through that for any of you who weren't able to be here or maybe you missed part of it. Excited to talk through some of those key topics that were brought up in a little bit more detail. So good morning. How are things going? And thanks so much for being here.
Good morning. Thank you. Things are going great. It's a very exciting time of the year for us, and we've got a lot of cool things to show our partners and our customers at this event. So I'm very excited to be here and excited to show off some of the amazing things that our teams have been building over the last 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Michael, for anyone who doesn't already know you and know who you are, would you mind giving us a little bit of background on how you came to be a part of Trimble and what it is that you do?
Great. So I'm Michael Kornhauser. I've been in the transportation industry for the better part of my entire life. And I say that because in 1979, my parents founded a company called ALK Technologies. And ALK Technologies is the builder of a product called PC Myler, which is the fundamental basis of pay between shippers and carriers. Yeah. So I started working at ALK maybe when I was 7 or 8 years old, and worked there throughout my younger years at conferences and so on. And I went away to college and then to try to do a couple other things, but then came back to ALK about 25 years ago, and I started our operations in Europe. And I spent a lot of time in Europe building up our business in Europe and in selling our Copilot navigation product, which is a product that's built off of the same technology that PC Myler is built off of, and then came to the United States. And then ALK was acquired in 2013 by Trimble, and so I've been then with Trimble since that time. And I was, for a large portion of that time, I was running and growing the ALK business at Trimble. We call it the Trimble Maps business. And recently I've taken over a larger role responsible for our TMS products, our maintenance products, as well as our mapping and navigation products.
Awesome. Well, that's really interesting. I didn't know that about your background, and I've only been in the space since 2019, but I know what PC Myler is. And so, yeah, I mean, that's probably like a universal, like, well, you know, and everybody's going to go, oh, yeah. And so that'll relate people real quickly to your background. Yeah.
When I was young, I was working on some of the fundamental maps that were built into PC Myler. And I think most of that work was probably just deleted after I was done playing around on the computer, but it certainly felt cool at the time, and so always being connected to that business is a big part of my passion for this industry, and my tremendous amount of respect for how much goes into this industry and the great work that our customers and our partners do to power this industry.
Absolutely. Well, this morning you kicked everything off with the opening session, and Rob Painter came on a little bit for you, and he talked about this concept that I really liked, and it was this idea of like compounding benefits over time, and how we can make 1% changes across parts of our fleet today that are going to impact another part of our fleet and create these more positive changes. So he really set the stage there, and then you followed that up with some pretty cool announcements around AI, product development, and just product enhancements, and then this idea of more secure and connected workflows. And so I want to get into kind of a little bit of all of that because I think all of it's really timely right now. And I had a interview just before you, we talked about, we have all this data in the space, but what are we doing with it and how are we driving change with it? And so I think a lot of what you guys discussed kind of set the stage for the future and what we're going to be doing to continue to improve. So tell me a little bit more about this, the new releases that you guys announced, and then what you kind of envision the future of those being in these fleets ecosystems.
Yeah, so I think first of all, we've been working for a long time to connect products and connect systems in our industry. And we were originally doing it mostly to avoid the swivel chair of having to go in and out of different applications to do your work. And since the emergence of AI, as I mentioned in my speech, that kind of integration work, that data flow between various systems, various personas in a trucking company has become even more pronounced. I think, again, we didn't necessarily know that we were moving to an AI age,
Sure.
But having all that data and having that data accessible really allows AI to be extremely powerful and really change the trajectory of some of the personas working in our industry. So I think it started with really connecting those systems, then comes into AI, and AI gives us the ability to streamline workflows, make workflows less manual, less human involvement, more accurate in many cases, and allows the human to be freed up to do exception management of those workflows. So it's kind of been an evolution that is really, I would say, culminating with the age of AI, and it gives us the ability to implement AI workflows into our existing solutions, as well as focus on building some next generation solutions. So what we talked about this morning was a lot of how do we implement AI into the solutions that our customers are using today without the need to upgrade to some sort of next generation system that changes everything in their business. They're able to implement AI in various different workflows to improve their efficiency, to improve their accuracy, to free up folks to do more higher level work, to allow them to scale their business without scaling their headcount. And that's really been an exciting change for the industry, an exciting change for our focus in terms of how we're focusing on modernizing the systems that people are using today, that they've used for 30, 40 years, and really bringing them into the AI age quickly.
So I just saw a map the other day on like an AI timeline, and I think we launched like ChatGPT back in 22. And that's when like AI kind of got on most of our, we'd say more or less technical people's radar, right?
Yep.
How long has AI been something you guys have been having to, watch and monitor and experiment with and decide how is this going to fit?
Yeah, well, we've been leveraging machine learning for a very long time in our business. We use machine learning for a number of different things, like we use machine learning to help build our map data and to analyze images of satellite images and improve our core map data. And so kind of the progression of AI almost happened organically with our business, because machine learning was kind of some of the first ways to implement what is now called AI. And so I think that we've been working with AI internally for a long time, and we again used it to make our kind of core products better. We used it to make our core teams more efficient. We used it again to kind of analyze large pieces of data, whether that's map database stuff or whether that's customer data, and try to create actionable outcomes from the analysis of those large pieces of data. So I think for us it's kind of been a natural progression, and now getting AI features into our products and into the hands of our customers directly has been a great evolution. And so I think again for us, we've been playing with machine learning and other type similar tactics for over 10 years. And so it was a very natural progression for our teams to kind of come into this age of AI.
I love that you called it AI features, right, for them, because I do think that that's almost a common misconception that AI is like this like completely new experimental phase of things where we're seeing, like you said, the progression of machine learning into this, agent-based work that there's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes across our industry to get to this point for some time now. So it's exciting to see the new announcements and we announce things. It is exciting to have releases around them and to introduce them to customers, but it's not like, hey, this is something that, we started out of hype, if you will, a few months ago. So it's really fun to see things coming to fruition and getting into the hands of users that have been in the works now for a long time.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see the look on their face, or to hear the response that they have when they see some of these AI workflows working directly in what are fairly legacy systems, and so that's what's been, I think, a big unlock for us, is to not just focus our AI on next generation tools or totally new system, which by the way we are doing, of course, but really implementing them in the middle of their existing workflows that they're very used to, workflows that they rely on every single day, and not requiring them to do a large implementation or a large rip and replace of existing systems to take advantage of AI and not, not miss the wave of AI or become a late entry into AI. So it's been amazing to see, again, the reaction from our customers when we've shown them this stuff, and ultimately to see the return on investment that they're getting by implementing these little kind of small AI features into their business. And again, it does have that compounding effect where if we just get 1% better every single day, that has a tremendous compounding effect at the end of a quarter, at the end of a year, at the end of 5 or 10 years. So that's really our mentality around it.
Yeah, and I love the call out there and addressing to that, more. You said the word legacy, like legacy systems, and I think that that's so important to note, that you guys have been in this industry a long time, but you've been working towards this as well. It doesn't have to just be a new Silicon Valley startup that can handle AI and emerging technology these days.
Yeah, we have a large investment in research and development. I mentioned earlier we're using AI tools internally heavily to make that large investment deliver things faster, deliver things to our customers in a more immediate way. We're building features and functionality way faster than we ever were in the past, and again, that's because we're using a number of AI tools to help us do that. And then so you kind of it kind of keeps on, again, compounding. You use the AI tools internally, they make you more efficient. That means you can put out more AI functionality, you can put it out faster, and so you kind of have this compounding effect. And we like to kind of eat our own dog food, so to speak, in that we use AI heavily internally. We kind of pressure test it internally before we push it out to our customers, and that's a huge impact of what we're doing.
Yeah. So you announced a number of AI enhancements and connections across the Trimble suite of solutions, and a lot of these are really going to be pushing more into the hands of your users in 2026, it sounds like. What solutions specifically, or what parts of their fleet operations could fleets start to expect to see AI implemented across their workflow? Yeah,
again, we focus on different personas within a business, and so take the persona of the maintenance team, and what we focus on from the maintenance team is, again, it's a very manual process, it's a very paper heavy process, and how do we enhance that with AI to make that a better experience for our users. And so we've announced a number of AI features for our TMT fleet maintenance products, one being the road call agent, where it's, instead of having a human take calls from a driver when they've had a breakdown, we're using an AI agent to take those calls, to transcribe those calls directly into our TMT system and automatically create that work ticket without the intervention of a human. And so that has the ability to again, get the driver into a safe opportunity quickly. They don't have to wait on the phone. They don't have to kind of talk back and forth with someone. They explain their situation. The AI agent understands that situation, transcribes it into the system, and we've got the work order created to get them back on the road.
Very cool.
We're also using AI, and so when we think about AI from a high level, it's about it's about optimizing the interaction between two separate parties. In that case, it's the party of a driver and their fleet maintenance business. We're also leveraging AI to optimize the interactions between shippers and carriers. So at a much higher level, we have autonomous procurement and autonomous quotation. Autonomous procurement on the shipper side to help them procure freight, and autonomous quotation on the carrier side to help them leverage their freight, or to leverage their capacity. So when we optimize the interaction between two parties, whether that's again at a high level between a shipper or carrier, or at a kind of ground level between a driver and their maintenance fleet, we can put AI in the middle of these workflows and optimize those interactions.
It was exciting to hear too in this morning's session that you said, I think someone said, was it this, you have more shippers and brokers at this year's conference
Yes.
than ever before. And so it is, to me, reassuring to see that all of these enhancements and connected efforts are, we use the word ecosystem. It was used today in your session. And to me, when I think about an ecosystem in our space, you would have to have all the stakeholders. You would have to have
Yes.
that shipper, that warehouse, the carrier, and the broker. And so we're starting to see, I think, all parties become equally aligned on interests and innovations now. So we can actually use that word ecosystem
Yes.
and mean it, right? What are your thoughts on how you guys are seeing, that engagement start to increase from multiple parties?
Well, I think the key piece of that is making sure that it's a two-sided ecosystem,
Okay.
and that it's not benefiting the shippers. It's not more than it's benefiting the carriers. And so when we think about those products, autonomous procurement and autonomous quotation, yes, on one side, it is allowing shippers to procure freight in a more reliable way, in a potentially cheaper way, but it also allows carriers to quote that freight in a way that helps their business as well. And so there's benefit on both sides of that ecosystem. And I think it's very difficult to create kind of a one-sided ecosystem where only one side is the winner and the other side is a loser. And that's why we think of things like a marketplace, where really a marketplace is a great place for someone who's selling capacity to sell that capacity, and for someone who's acquiring that capacity, it's a great place for them to acquire that capacity. And so we really think about the two-sided, the evenness of the ecosystem that we are creating, and making sure to benefit both sides of that equation as opposed to just one side or the other.
The last thing I want to ask you about is this idea of actionable insights. So when the data that we are collecting, or when the agents that we are using to do tasks, like what are we, and as we're bringing in more connected systems, because you guys talked about these connected systems, so now we have all of our different tools are communicating to each other, or all the data can now be in maybe one place. How are we creating data in more real time that actually says, hey, this is happening now, like here's an opportunity to do this, as opposed to like, how will that evolve over the next year? Because I feel like we've done such a good job of getting data in our space now. Like we had a major data visibility gap years ago, and we've been working really hard to create the tools that can measure and track and collect. And now I think that there's still opportunity for enhancing what we do with that data and how actionable it is.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that the first part of that is making sure that you are getting data in real time.
Yes.
And so if you're getting data just at the end of the trip, well, it's very difficult to impact the trip if you're only getting the data at the end of the trip, or if you're only getting data every 15 minutes or getting data dumps every day. And so I think the first piece of that is making sure that the data is flowing in real time. And that's where our Trimble Fleet Hub solution was really focused. It was how do we change this way of sending data back and forth from the cab, which traditionally has been a slow process. There were delays in the data getting back and forth between the TMS and the telematics unit, and we've made that happen in real time. And so that then gives you the option to then create actionable data off of the data when you're having it in real time. So I think, again, the first thing was to get the infrastructure in place so that we have data in real time.
Yeah.
And then the next thing to do is maybe reference to our integration with Tandem Systems on our Trimble Fuel Dispatch TMS. Again, in the past, you wouldn't know that there would be a credit issue until the driver got to the tank and their fill was rejected. Now we're finding out about that in earlier. So then, what do you do with that data? You can create an action to drive it into a different tank.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example of bringing outside information
Yes.
into a TMS ecosystem.
Yes.
And that's not even the carrier's data. That's going out and finding their, I guess in that case, a shipper. I'm not super familiar with that industry, but that's going out and finding that information and pulling it from where it's feeding in real time and bringing it in to help drive better decisions.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's not just about the data within the four walls of a carrier. It's about how do I connect out, whether it be to shipper data or whether it be to tank data, where you're really leveraging other systems. That as well, the openness of our ecosystem is critical to that. We are not going to do everything ourselves, and certainly, again, within the four walls of a trucking company, there's other systems that you need to reach out to bring that data in and ultimately create an actionable situation for that carrier.
Yeah, that's the second time I've heard that kind of specifically the phrase of your four walls, and it was from a tech founder talking about how, if we're only looking to optimize things inside your four walls, we're still going to limit what all we can do. And because to have that actual ecosystem that we're talking about to really drive real-time changes of what's happening with my partners affects what's happening with me. It's exciting to talk about that type of connectivity going forward.
Yeah, and again, to be fair, 5-10 years ago in our industry, we didn't have the data even within the four walls that was flowing. So we kind of had to get there first.
It's the next wave, right?
And
so
then
we got that figured out, and now we're kind of moving on, which is good because it's constant innovation and progression.
Yes.
And now we're starting to say, okay, we got that done. Let's talk about what's going on outside of that, and everybody else's four walls we got to be aware of that impact us. Very cool. Well, I'd love to kind of just get your thoughts on forward-looking, we're moving into somehow a new year already. Everybody's worried about wrapping up 25 and thinking ahead of all of the unknowns that 2026 might bring. That was discussed this morning too in the session was, that change is constant and we have to accept that. And so knowing that change is constant, knowing that there's so much going on right now with innovation, with AI, with productivity, with a carrier's really focusing on trying to optimize every penny spent as we've been in an unprecedented down market cycle. What are all of these things leading you to kind of think and advise fleets on as they move into 26?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, it's about, for us, it's about doing what we do well. And I think also for the fleets, it's about doing what they do well and kind of focusing on your core business. And I think that our core business is providing value through technology to shippers, carriers, brokers, and everybody in the transportation value chain. And I think for our carrier customers in particular, it's about moving freight. And so if we can get them to really focus on their core value proposition of moving freight, optimize that, get that happening, I think that we'll see the end of this freight recession and the entire industry will be to a better place. And so if we can take some of the technical burden off of them, if we can manage cybersecurity for them, for instance, it gives them the opportunity to not have to worry as much about that and to really take that focus and put it on some kind of core work for them. If we can get them to not have so many manual processes and leverage AI to, again, free their employees up to do their kind of core focus work of moving freight. That allows them to, again, kind of get back to focusing on what they're good at and ultimately turning around this freight recession that we've been in.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, the next year when things start to change. I don't even know that we necessarily need a market change anymore for customers to be driving small improvements, because we've seen so much progress in the last 3 years. We've been in a down market cycle. Yes, that's true. It's also kind of driven innovation out of necessity.
Yes.
And I think now it's just a new mindset that carriers and fleets and even brokers and shippers have now, where we're working to be more optimized. We're focusing on the pennies, hopefully no matter the market environment moving forward. And so I think it's exciting to see, if volumes grow and the market picks up, well, maybe we don't have to add headcount, and maybe now we're talking about efficiencies we never even have seen unlocked before in the last couple of years.
Absolutely, and I think that's certainly the mentality that we have at Trimble, that magic penny concept of getting 1% better every day, and if you do that compounding over the course of time. And
I think it compounds more in those better market cycles, and that's the exciting thing. It's do the work all the time, and then we get to see even more compounding when things change.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for recapping this morning. I think that was a pretty good overview of what all has been going on. What's the best way for anybody who didn't make it to the conference, but they're listening to this conversation, they want to know more, they want to connect, where would you steer them to connecting with the Trimble team?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can certainly start with our website. That's one of the core vehicles for funneling things into our business. Also, happy to connect with me on LinkedIn, and
absolutely.
I'll get you to the right place in the organization to help you out with whatever you're looking for.
And if someone was listening that wasn't here, what would you say about next year? I saw we're going to be in San Diego for Trimble Insight next year. So what would be a good reason for someone to consider attending this conference? Yeah,
I mean, I think it's, on one hand, we're announcing a bunch of AI features and functionality and agents here at the show. I can't imagine what next year will bring from that perspective. We've also announced our next generation Trimble TMS, which will be kind of fully into the market at that point. We'll have end-to-end reference customers, and so I look forward to showing that off at next year's Insight as well.
Yeah, I'm really optimistic about the direction of things and where things are moving in the next year, and so it'll be fun to kind of revisit topics that were announced this year, a year from now, and see all the progress and adoption that's been made.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait.
Well, thank you so much for making the Meet Me for Coffee podcast a part of your time at Trimble Insight this year. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and thanks everyone for meeting us for coffee. Thanks for meeting us for coffee today. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to check out our channels and subscribe. It would also mean a lot if you could leave us a rating or a review. If you're listening on LinkedIn, feel free to drop your thoughts or your questions in the comment section, and we'd be happy to get back to you. Thanks again.